Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Lafe Taylor. Get ready to add my man Kevin to the live stream here. See if we can get this rolling. You know how we do. So I got my man invited. Gonna wait for him to come on and add. What's up, Mo? How you been, brother? See if I can get my man. What's going on, Miss Takia? Trying to get you in here, Kevin. There we go. Approve you. Yeah, it's adding you right now. What's going on, brother Raymond? Good seeing you this past week. Hey, what's up, Kev?
What's up?
Shoot, nothing much, man. What's going on with you, brother?
Oh man, just sitting here waiting to get on with my other half, two shy guys in the mic, just here, just having fun in good old Stench, Kentucky. You know how we roll,
What's up,
man.
Justin? What's up? My man Justin's watching.
Justin.
Hey, my dude
Oh,
Justin, yeah. He used to be what was it, a junior national champ in bodybuilding? I think that's what you were. What's
what?
going on, Takia? Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I met him last year in November. He's a good brother,
yeah.
man.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, it's good to know, given that tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about the power of habit and routine.
Okay. Habit
Habit
and
and
routine.
But before we get started, though, I want to thank you all for joining Two Shy Guys at a Mic, like I said. And one of the things we're here to help you do is not tell bad jokes in life because that's what I aim to do. Hey, hey, though, for real, though,
Hey,
I got
I
a
ain't gonna
joke for
lie.
you.
I used to revel in bad jokes. I ain't gonna lie. The worse they
What?
were, the happier I got.
Hey, what do you call cheese that doesn't belong to you, Leif?
Nacho cheese.
Come on,
See,
man. Why you messing up the punchline?
because you asked me. Don't ask me.
Yeah, but you're not
You asked
supposed
me
to
the
just take
question.
it, man. You're supposed to
Yeah,
let
you
me.
can, don't ask me the question then.
No, man, that's not how you do it. You don't know the rules. You don't know the rules to the game, man. Come on, man.
You can't be asking me no questions if I know the answer. I'm gonna answer.
You're supposed to be like nacho cheese. No, but today, earlier you asked me, why is it that we on so late where we are? Because some people might not be late, depending on where you're at. But
Yeah,
for us,
I know we got a lot of people that watch from the West Coast, and actually, the majority of the people that watch our show are from the West Coast. Ironically.
Right. So, where we're at, it is kind of super late, given that we just did our spring forward time adjustment. So that's contributing to it.
Yeah,
But
and then it slowed right after, right? Just
yeah, exactly. Old man Winter was like, "Nuh-uh, not
yeah,
on my
not today.
watch."
Exactly.
But it got me to really thinking, and I know that primarily, as far as between us two and just having these talks and stuff, I'm primarily the driver, kind of as when we go on live.
Yep,
And
yep.
one of the things I've noticed is that just looking over the course of my life and the habits and
Phoenix in the
routines that
house.
I've, huh?
Nah, my boy Justice said Phoenix in the house.
Phoenix in the
Anyway,
heat house, the heated house.
anyway, keep going. Don't mind me. Keep going. Keep
Oh,
going.
okay. Yeah, yeah. But I've just noticed how the power of routine and habit is so entrenched. I've gotten some habits that are so strong that no matter what I do, if I don't consciously, with intent and purpose, with willpower, try to change them, they just take back over. And one of them is that the times that we come on, for me, given that I'm the main driver of these conversations sometimes, is that the times that we come on with the cues that are around me, this is the time where I can relax and have free and open conversation. Does that make sense?
Yep, yep. Makes
It's
plenty of sense to me.
so it's not a guarded time for me, which it is for a lot of people, with respect to certain cues like nighttime relaxation. When you get in that mode, it's like It's like, I'm just gonna have a conversation, relax, and whatever happens, happens. Whatever's said is said. Just let the cookie, let the cookie crumble the any way it's gonna crumble, right?
Yep, yep.
So this is one of the habits I've developed over the course of my life, and that around this time I'm in this mindset, and then give it about 30 more minutes, I'll be hitting the sheets.
Anyway, so all right, let's get into it, my brother. Let's get into it. What you got
So
for us tonight?
it just got me to thinking about, I started listening to, I didn't finish it, but I started listening to the book. What was that book? Uh, by Duhigg, The
Oh,
Power of
Charles
Habit.
Duhigg, The Power of Habit. Oh man, that's an excellent book. If you've never read it, I've been preaching this to Kevin forever. You got to read the book, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. That's one of my favorite books.
Yeah,
Anyway, go ahead.
it
Go
was a
ahead.
2012 bestseller, Wall Street and Financial Times and stuff. And I started audiobook listening to it when you told me to, but I just never completely finished it. But some of the main lessons that I got from it was that just looking at listening to him do some Google talks, some TED talks, and he gets into it. The how you form a habit is you have a cue, a
Yep.
routine, and then you
Yep.
have a reward. And
Yep.
in a cue, it could be anything from a location, time, emotional state. Other people can be a cue, and your last action could be a cue that puts you in the motion of actually carrying out a routine, and then you get rewarded for carrying out that routine, and then
Yep.
over time it forms a habit. So, and I was just thinking, well, usually about this time, as soon as the sun goes down, which is the time, my emotional state is usually relaxation and
Yeah,
open
yeah.
conversation. And
Yeah, the
then,
cue response reward thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I'm starting to settle down. It's like the reward is sleep. So, so it just got me to thinking how powerful, a lot of things that we take for granted when it comes to habits, and
Yep.
the power of just using what he calls keystone habits, which are small micro habits, and how when
Yep.
you merge those together, like you always talk about, brick by brick, those small
Yeah.
keystone habits over time add up, and it's things that we do not see, that in the aggregate of things over time, it's like, how did I end up here on top of this mountain when all along you've been digging that hole, or when you've been
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
adding on, next thing you know, you're on a big mountain.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite books. I've been talking to people about this books for years, this particular book for years. One, because it's a great read. It's a very easy read, and it's very intriguing in terms of understanding how habits are formed, how habits are cultivated, and how they perpetuate through our life. Yeah, he said he never thought, Richard said he never thought about the reward perspective. And that's the thing.
Yep.
And that's the thing with a lot of people is that they don't understand the reward aspect of habits, meaning because that's one of the hardest things to figure out, right? And so if you juxtapose this to the conversation we had last night about goal setting, is
Yes.
finding out what you really desire, what you really value, because a lot
Yes.
of times you realize that the habit is cultivated by something that you're rewarded for. And a lot of people don't understand that they really want a specific reward, right? One of the examples in the book, as you can see, I'm going in. One of the
No, it's
examples in the
still.
book was the fact that the guy realized, Charles Duhigg, for himself, realized that he was constantly drinking coffee.
And one
But
cookie.
yeah, yeah, exactly. In a cookie, he was constantly drinking coffee and getting one cookie, and he was like, "Why am I doing this?" Like, he has noticed he was gaining weight over a period of time, and then he started really breaking down his day. He's like, "I noticed that when I go to this certain location, which is basically a congregation of his friends, that he
Gospel.
always had a coffee and a cookie." And he was like, "It's not really the coffee or the cookie that I desire. It's really the interaction with my friends." So once he realized that his reward was the conversation with his friends, which then triggered him to eat the cookie, it was just part of that whole scenario. He started started separating out that it's like, okay, I can get the reward of being around my friends without necessarily eating this cookie. And he was able to curb his diet and control his diet around the things that he truly desired, because, you know, his friends would congregate around a certain location, which is why they were eating coffee, drinking coffee and eating cookies. So it's those kinds of things that we have to really break down in our day, because a lot of times we don't know why we do certain things.
Yeah.
I know I've been guilty. It's like, man, why am I doing this? Why do I desire to do X, Y, Z? Richard said that's why he's fat.
But hey, dude, he said he lost weight.
Yeah, and then Justin said, yeah, that probably explains Starbucks' success. Yeah, because if you think about
he talks about it.
Yeah, they talk about Starbucks a lot. And if you even think about the reason why we congregate in certain locations, and again, you start forming habits around that culture, right? He says it's really an internet cafe that serves coffee. That's all it is if you think about
That's all it. That's
yeah,
and
it's
it
like,
goes
hey,
back
you
to
get hungry, and then it's like, hey, well, I'm already here. I might as well buy something.
And it goes back to what we talked about last night, and that one of the realizations that I had was that I value experience over everything else. Now my goal setting is built around the ultimate experience or whatever I desire. And now I'm finding my routines are orchestrated around that experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Because then it's like you realize what you're motivated by. And once you understand what your motivations are, you can start tinkering with your cue, action, reward kind of
Yes.
scenario. And you can start navigating how your habits are formed. And again, it takes a lot of dedication, and it's good to have people around you that they can point some of this stuff out, because a lot of times you don't even know it's there. If you remember me talking on some of the earlier talks, where I talk about where your brain actually creates pathways,
Pathways, yes.
it is really related around this concept of, if you do something so often, you'll start developing a habit without even realizing,
Yes.
which is, there's some very interesting stories in that book. Go ahead, bro.
Well, that's scientific in that I think it's called myelin, and your brain starts laying down like myelin every time you do a routine. It keeps just building on top of that, and it
Yeah.
becomes a pathway that you don't have to think about. It's like when you drive. You know, we talked about this way back. When you drive, your brain has laid down a pathway, so you don't have to consciously think about it. You can give it over to the subconscious, and then you can start consciously thinking about other stuff. It's just the power of the
It can
brain.
sometimes be scary, man. I remember this one particular
It's very
time
scary.
when I used to work at Toyota. This was back when I was an intern for Toyota. I remember being so tired one time that I don't even remember how I got home.
Yeah.
And it was like, hold on, how did I get here? I don't even remember the act. I remember nothing. And it was kind of scary, and it spooked me when I thought about it. But now I found myself, I've cultivated a personal habit that if I think about a certain thing, like small task, then I do it immediately. But I've
Yeah.
gotten in such a habit of doing that sometimes I don't even remember doing the activity.
Yes.
You know, so like I said, it can be good, and it can be kind of scary. So I'm like, man, I was supposed to do this, and I realized, oh, I already put it up. I already did X, Y, Z. And so it can help, but sometimes it can spook you too.
It's like fire, you know. It's a tool that you got to use with intention and purpose, and you got to just keep everything in under tight rein, because the brain is so powerful. And I mean, we can go down many rabbit trails with the power of disassociation, the power of handing a lot of tasks over to the subconscious and allowing your conscious to take over, and the power of fragmenting the brain and creating alternate personalities and stuff. But
Yeah, that's not real though.
yeah, it's real. Let's get back over here. See, I want to be like Kevin on this conspiracy theory tip.
Real quick, my man Jason, he said that's one reason that a lot of companies offer weekly or monthly rewards for their employees. The
Yeah.
employees work to get the prizes, which sometimes gets them to overlook not getting substantial pay raises. Yeah, so they gamify the system, right? They gamify
Yes.
certain things. And also, it's not even necessarily around pay raises sometimes. A lot of times it's around health. So they'll hack the health system because employees that don't take care of themselves are a higher liability risk. One
Yes.
from a standpoint of paying insurance, and also from a standpoint of being away from work. Right, because I used to work when I was doing my internship at Toyota. They hired me afterwards to do a return to work program where I help people get over their injuries so they could get back to work. Because if they didn't recuperate in a significant amount of time, then they would ultimately get chopped. So I definitely understand that aspect of the reward system in terms of gamifying it to where people get back to work.
Yeah, gamifying it, and just it can be used in so many different ways when we're talking about habits, routines,
Hey, what's up, Trey?
cues, and gamifying the system. Um, so
Not necessarily the most PC thing, but my man Justin said fat people and smokers cost companies more money. Hey, but definitely it's true because again they look at it, especially if they pay certain deductibles for their employees that have health insurance. That
yep,
they'll find all kinds of ways and all kinds of loopholes. Trust me, man, I've seen it. I know about it. Like I said, working on the return to work program, I saw people get cut because especially from a factory job, again, I don't want to sidetrack this conversation, but
no,
you do a lot of repetitive work. They call it a repetitive stress injuries. I actually have repetitive stress injury from the standpoint of constantly using the keyboard and the mouse to design stuff. So my fingers are feeling the ramifications of that. But anyway, those repetitive stress injuries can cause somebody not to go back to work, and so they find creative ways to let them go without necessarily
same,
firing them.
yeah.
Yeah, they get real creative. It's real crazy. Yeah, Justin said basically the BMI of 30 or higher. He said that originates from the MetLife tables. Yeah, so you got actuaries that actually work on this type stuff. They try to figure out what the rates of mortality are and all of these kinds of things. What the rates are. So yeah, it gets real complex in
Well,
terms of figuring out ways to either keep people employed or keep them going.
keep people employed, keep them going. This is almost kind of segueing into just talking about the power of habits and routines, and
Yeah,
why
yeah,
it's essential that we are mindful of them and we manage them, and we manage them well. It's just part of maturity and growing up and
yeah,
being a mature adult in the world, that you manage your habits, because if you don't, they manage you. And then if
yeah,
you don't, also somebody else is asking, those habits to them, and raining and using your habits to rein you around. Speaking about the management system that we live in, the pyramids within pyramids. Somebody somebody was always looking to use your habits and stuff against you, and so it's in your best interest to manage your habits. And just
yeah,
Duhigg talks about the way you change your habit is you have to have a plan
yeah,
of action in place uh, with respect to a cue, and then a routine, and then a
yeah,
reward. Like you
yeah,
said, that one of the ways he broke his habit of eating the cookie and the coffee and gaining weight was he had the plan of whenever he got the cue to go in the coffee room, he waited, I think it was, and then he went and had the conversation
yeah,
after or
yeah.
outside of the eating area, where he got the cookie and coffee.
Yeah, he
He
just changed the timing.
he changed the timing, and he still got to have his experience, but the reward of eating that cookie and stuff, it wasn't there. So he found a way to change it.
Yeah, hold on, real quick. He said, Floyd said, dang, I need glasses. I thought the topic was why do we scream when we do? He said, wow, sad over here. Actually, it was because I talked the topic like I used the recorder and I said, why do we stream when we do? And then when I posted it, I realized that it didn't dictate correctly, so I changed it. So I could have let that slide and let Floyd think he was crazy for a little bit because you know
But
it's how me and Floyd do at times, but no, bro, you were right when you read it the first time. It was on me.
there's plenty of other opportunities for that.
Yeah, Richard said, great to hear you guys articulate what our lazy minds don't really want to hear. It's not even that we're lazy. It's actually just it's a way that the body just think of it like a computer, right? Once you put
Yes,
in an algorithm and you store something to local storage, it doesn't have to pull down, it doesn't have to download or
it's
go through
there.
that program once again. So it basically speeds up the system, so you don't have to constantly read the same thing over and over and over. So it's actually a way for our minds to really streamline, in a sense, our daily activities, so we don't have to over fatigue our brains on minimal things.
Yeah, that's very powerful, and it speaks to the beauty of just being a human being and all the stuff that makes us up. You know that we are very powerful, and I think we're more powerful than what you actually may realize that
Yeah, for sure.
you are capable of. There's a lot of built-in uh, software abilities and everything that's encoded in us that if we really sit down and take the time to develop them and think about them and practice them, we have this stuff we won't really need, or we'll just find enjoyment just being ourselves and learning more about ourselves. Um,
Yeah. What's up, Miriam? Yeah,
but
because just think about it. It's like we breathe all the time, but we don't actively think about breathing, right? And it's just something that our minds automatically take care of for us. It's just something that our body does for us. So again, it helps us become super efficient. So it's definitely something that's needed. However, you have to be careful that you don't create the wrong neural pathways and the wrong kinds of shortcuts that are detrimental to your life. And
and
that's
that's
where
the
yeah, and
that's
that's
where they
what
get us.
marketing comes in, because they try to rewire the way we think, or they know that we like certain things, so they rewire the cue reward system for us.
Yes.
And if we're not aware of it, then we can fall into those traps. Like even the most savvy person that understands marketing can still fall for marketing. So
Oh,
so that shows how powerful it is in the terms of the stuff that we're constantly inundated with, in terms of the information, and in the terms of the things that we get a rise out of. So yeah, it's very powerful. But if you can figure out the crux of what makes you tick, then you can make your body efficient in a variety of ways. You can change the habits. That's why we have all these gurus online or on TV, or that fill out stadiums, because to some extent they've found that understanding, right? They found that understanding, whether you agree with them or not. They understand some of that mix. So that's why you got to like start analyzing yourself. Take those quiet times that we talk about all the time, and really deep down think about the habits that you hate about yourself, right? The things that you wish
yes.
you could get rid of, whether it be smoking, whether it be lying, whether it be
Chocolate.
cursing, yeah, whatever it is, right?
We had this
Figure out,
conversation a while back.
yeah, figure out what it is that you're really getting out of that, right? And then also you can figure out another way. Like for example, Kevin said chocolate. Chocolate is something that he craves. That's his reward. Well, maybe he can put chocolate at the end of a workout. You see what I'm saying? So
Well,
now he
yeah.
changes the cue, the routine, and then the reward. So now his reward system, he still gets the chocolate. However, he's done something productive in the meantime to get access to that chocolate.
Well, one of the things I did with respect to the last time we had the conversation about chocolate was I replaced it with good popcorn.
So yeah, so he just found something else that he enjoys. And what's funny, it's the same way I tell people about people always ask me like, how are you vegan, man? It's like I just could never do this. I could never go vegan and all of that. And what's funny, I had the same conversation with somebody before I actually went vegan. And the way that I was able to hack my own system, right? One, I had a made up mind, and I'm really stubborn, and
Willpower.
controlling certain aspects of my body is easy, right? It's just certain aspects, but where I'm strong, somebody else may be weak, and where they're weak, where they're strong, I may be weak. So it's not that I'm bragging or anything like that. However, I was able to, just like Kevin said, I just changed my reward. It's like, so I like a large variety of different foods. So instead of rewarding myself with something that contained meat, I found another reward to replace that. It's really that simple. It's like certain things. Michael stupid. He said vegan. He said, I thought I knew you. But yeah, he's silly. So for me, it was really a simple transition. It's like certain foods that I liked, that it didn't matter how it was prepared. Like I love lasagna, right? My wife makes an awesome vegan lasagna. She just does. So if I want lasagna, then I found something that satisfied that craving. So it's the same kind of thing that Kevin did in terms of he wanted to eliminate or minimize his chocolate intake. So he found something else that he loved. And what I always tell people, may not be the best example, but I'm like, if you love pie and you like cake as well, if you satisfy yourself with the pie, you don't necessarily need the cake.
Right.
Some people eat both, but you just found a replacement. It's like you can't eat everything at all times. And so people, if you understand that with your diet, you can find healthy replacements in your diet to even substitute for those bad cravings, so to speak.
Was that
Floyd? Ain't nobody
Takai?
paying no attention to you, man.
Takai said, since we're talking about habits, let's talk about hanging around people who support your new goals and habits. Yeah, that goes back to the underlying theme of our conversations is collaboration and finding a community, a group of people that's going to help you move in that direction. With respect to some of the goals and my aspirations and stuff, I often make it a point to, at some, on a frequent basis, get around you and Lamar, get around some people. If it's not with you guys, I make sure I surround myself with material, books, videos, streaming. I'm always surrounding myself with people who are going to support and help push me, mentor me in the direction that I want to walk in when it comes to my life. I may not get there when they get there or whatever, but at least I've surrounded myself with that mindset and with those people with the same mindset. Being around toxic people, life's too short.
Oh man. I say it all the time, and again, it's a new habit that I've formed. Hey, this is the one life you have on this earth. This is not a test run. The kingdom's coming, yeah, but you got to live this life to get there. So don't waste your time on things that are wasting your time. Don't waste your time on people who don't care about you. Don't waste your time on things that don't satisfy you. Focus on what really matters in this life. Realize what that is. Take that quiet time to figure out what that means for you and pursue that.
Yeah. Your key phrase is to take that quiet time, which goes back to routine and habit, in that, I've orchestrated my life with intention and purpose to make sure I have those quiet moments, one, before I actually go to sleep, and then also, two, when I wake up in the morning, I try to make sure I have those quiet times before everybody else in the house gets up, because you want to make sure that you are armed and ready, armed and dangerous when I get up.
Yeah, definitely.
Y'all ain't getting me. I'm getting you. I'm hitting you with the pillow in the morning. You ain't hitting me with the pillow. Talking about get up, daddy. No, you get up.
Wake up.
Exactly.
My man Jason said, yep, I've seen birds that can fly that were raised around chickens, and they never realized they could fly. Yeah.
Wow.
You want to soar with eagles, hang with eagles, right? That's the way it goes. So at what point in life are you able to arrive at this point of realization? Floyd, that really depends. And it depends upon how you were raised, the people that you have access to. A lot of times, it's the whole nature versus nurture thing, right?
Yes.
And and a lot of times those things go hand in hand. It's like, because I always think for myself, it's like, man, what separated me from a lot of my friends, and why is it that I'm like, man, like for the most part, like one of the only entrepreneurs in my immediate family, that kind of stuff. And then I thought about it, like for me, like my mother was a single mother, my father, like they divorced when I was young. My father, he was away in Georgia, so I never really got to see him. However, I spent a large amount of my time as a young kid around my grandfather. My grandfather owned his own construction company. I hung out with him most of the time, so he was the father figure in my life. And I never thought about it until I got older. And luckily I was able to realize that, and I told him that. I gave him a lot of credit for the way I am. The way I think about money was because of him. The way I think about business is because of him. The fact that I always knew I would just be a business owner was because of him. So a lot of these things, again, it was cultivated in me to want to go down a certain path, and I didn't even know it. It didn't even dawn about it. Again, it's like when you start reflecting. So at what point in your life do you realize that you got to hang around a certain group of people? It's just different times for different people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have a moment of clarity in the middle of chaos, right?
You have
That
an
moment of
epiphany.
clarity
Yeah.
is like, man, you know what? I ain't about this life no more. It's like, why am I even doing this? It's like, what is the purpose? I had that point like when it came to clubs. Like when I was a teenager,
Yeah.
I spent a ton of money on clubs, and then one night I was just sitting there, I just started doing math. I was like, you know what? I ain't about that life. I need to save my money. So I just quit going to clubs. I just like, it's a wrap. I need to save some money. So it's different for different people, and then it just varies. My man Justice said not everyone can be a 1%. Yeah, yeah, and it's about who you hang around, the influences you have in your life. What's going on, Miss Cheryl?
Hey, Miss Cheryl.
The kinds of things that you find an affinity to. Some people find an affinity to bad things, and they have to cultivate and change that, which is why a lot of people don't change until they're in prison.
Yeah.
Uh, so you get that because what most people don't know is super I don't want to call them I guess felony offenders or people that have spent a lot of time in prison are less likely to recidivize or go back to prison because they have time to reflect and ponder. People that go in and out are more likely to become repeat offenders.
It's
A lot of times
routine.
they go in and out. Yeah, it becomes routine. So it just really depends. And statistically, yeah, again, it just based on your desires and and a lot of time for me it was an interference for God, like why I changed my lifestyle completely. But it just depends, man. I can't really answer that.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
like you
bro.
said to Floyd's point or statement, there's a whole buffet of reasons why. But as you were talking and when he posed that statement, it made me think about a conversation that I was having with somebody the other day, and then when I was thinking about my son on his 13th birthday, the
Yep.
importance of having pillars like your grandfather who help you as a young man, whether you know it or not, step from childhood, cross over into manhood through adolescence. And I say adolescence with quotations because adolescence is a modern day anomaly. It's a modern day invention, and that for most of human history, we went from childhood straight into adulthood, which means we went from childhood, your decisions that you make really didn't fall heavily on your shoulders. But when you
Yeah.
cross over, I've been having the conversation with my son that, hey, buddy, we're crossing over, and it's my job to make sure that you realize that the decisions that you make, you're now responsible for them. And I'm going to start removing myself from your causation and your actions, and I'm gonna start getting out of the way to allow you to feel some of the consequences
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
rewards of the things that you do. So the importance of having pillars in every community that are able to be there to instill and indoctrinate some of these good habits, cultivate and plant some of these good seeds of routine, and be there to help steer them towards routine and actions and behavior that exhibit good rewards. Because
Yeah.
when they get in the
Yeah.
real world, they ain't have it. They ain't having it out there. They're gonna take you to jail and that's it.
Yeah, and like I said, it's the whole nature versus nurture aspect of stuff, meaning that your environment sometimes can help change your desires, right?
Yeah.
the environment that you're in, those kinds of things. Because
He
again, the
talks
fact that
about
I
that in the
hung
book.
around the fact that I hung around my grandfather a lot means that I hung around a lot of older individuals, which means that they actually were more settled in their life. They
Yeah.
actually owned things. They actually had things. So I didn't, I of course spent time with my friends, people my age, but I noticed all throughout my teenage years, everybody I hung around was older than me. They just were. It was like my cousin. I hung around him a lot. He was 5 years older than me. So I'm 14 years old, going to college parties. I'm going to
What?
clubs. Yeah, I'm 14. I'm going like literally like real life clubs because I could grow facial hair. That's why I'm always bearded up, right? So I'm in clubs doing a whole lot of different things I probably shouldn't be privy to. However, again, I never really hung around young kids. So my thoughts and aspirations were always about future building and those kinds of things. Even when I was doing the wrong thing, I still thought ahead because I always hung around people that did things, that owned things, that participated in things that I knew that I could myself could potentially achieve.
But now the seeds have been planted to where you now do the same thing as far as always, you do talks at schools and you're always being positive examples of people mentoring. So you just stepped right up into the role that they once had in your life and that you're now a pillar to help cultivate and set the stage for others.
Miss
Cougars,
Cheryl said the
Cougars,
Cougars bait. Hey, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. That's funny. But yeah, but again, like for me, it's like I don't know. I always think about anybody remember like I'm gonna show my age. Anybody remember the show Growing Pains? Like yeah, Mike Seaver, the dude
yeah,
Kirk
Mike
Cameron
Seaver,
is in it.
Severs.
Yeah, Kirk Cameron. So it was something like I remember him specifically, and I always thought about this, which is why I kind of do some of the things I do now. It was when he became a teacher, right? At one point in the series, he became a teacher, and he always understood what the bad kids were doing because he was a bad
He was
kid,
one of them. Yeah.
right? So that's the way I kind of look at life now. Like I'm not a sucker. Me and my cousin, game recognized game type stuff, and so there's certain things that I understand that kids go through that I understand kids I have a built-in deviancy because of the curiosity and all of those kinds of things. So I'm very well aware of that, and I'm also aware of that in smaller children. I have small children, so I always think about some of the things that they could get themselves into. So we try to curb that, at the head before it even happens. We talk about a lot of stuff. We talk about different things. We tell them about life and why some kids act the way they do, why some kids want to bully or make fun of, and it's because the fact that I understand that, but necessarily didn't understand those things when I was younger, could help bring
Yeah.
about some clarity, right? So that's one of the things I always try to do. My boy Floyd said, "Did he have a beard as a kid?" Hey man, I started having a beard early, man. I was one of
He,
them kids.
he's one of those kids when I used to play football in middle school, and you go up against a team and everybody's got like a full beard and mustache. Like, oh man, we about to get crushed. Where they
Yeah,
find
I
these
know they got a
kids at?
pension though. A lot of them kids have pensions. She said exactly. She said diversity of people and experiences will make you reflect on what you're doing and where you're going and where you want to be. Definitely, definitely, I agree.
It's definitely important to have a diversity of people to be around because it lets you know where you're at, and it lets you know what your experience is in life when you have a diversity. It's important you have a diversity so that you can explore and know what you like and know what you don't like.
Yeah,
It's a part of life. Because a lot of things we're touching on, we're starting to hit on. Because I just got to reading the book, "The Inevitable" by Kevin Kelly. He was one of the co-founders of Wired magazine,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Hold on, is that the same book I had? Let me see that again.
The Inevitable.
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's the same book I have. I think I started reading
Talks
that as
about
well.
understanding the 12 technological forces that will shape
Yep,
our
I
futures.
have that book as well. We got it from Andreessen Horowitz. Shout
You
out
already
to
read
him.
it?
Shout out to Andreessen Horowitz for the free books.
You read it already?
I read like the first few chapters. I gotta get back into it though. No, it's
Well,
not upside down. It's reversed. It's because of the camera, Shauna. She said it's
yeah.
upside down. Yeah, yeah. I started reading that, and then I got off on something else.
Oh man, you gotta read it, especially with relation. Why it's important that we harness and manage my guru, my business wife.
See, look, that's the power of having it on your own feed. Boom! I'm giving him that Lamont treatment. He knows what I'm talking about.
The power of the feed, huh?
Oh yeah, it's like delete. Go ahead, Gil.
Yeah. Well, it's going to the importance of having power and control over your
Oh
own
yeah,
timeline, over your habit,
he
the
knows what I'm
things
talking about. That's why he's laughing.
the things that you know display and put out there in that, because we're going into a system, a global brain that will either reward or punish you according to your habits and routine. So it's it's good that we get control of them and we start to manage them well.
She said I'm trying to like it. See, leave it to a Negro to come and change things around, try to disrupt. But the power of habit means that I'm gonna stay focused and steady. But
Even he tried to disrupt our podcast show. It can't happen.
hey, stay on ABC. He knows what I'm talking about. But anyway, but yeah, man, the Charles Duhigg book. If you get a chance, I posted. I should have probably pinned it. It's an awesome book. Everybody I've talked to, I've told them to read it because again, there's some key things in there. I've taken many notes on it, and so and I actually revisit those notes on occasion because it's love you too, brother. Because again, the most powerful thing for me was just understanding my own desires, my own cues, trying to figure out what my reward was. Stupid. Anyway, trying to understand what my own cues were, my own triggers for the things that I wanted, and also the things. He said, "I didn't hear what you said." Yeah, I'll tell you. And so the book itself actually made me think about that in depth because I used to read it all the time when I was on when I would travel on planes, and I couldn't put the book down. I couldn't put it down, and I actually went back over it several times in different spots because there were so many nuggets of information. Like on the iPad, it's like 800 pages. I don't know. I don't know how many hours it is in terms of listening to
Just like I focus.
it. Yeah, how many hours is that total when you listen to it?
I didn't even pay attention because I just put it on and just started listening.
Oh,
But
gotcha.
yeah, a lot of stuff I get on YouTube and I just stream it on YouTube, so I really don't look at it while I'm streaming because I'm
Oh,
driving and stuff.
gotcha. So yeah, you get any
Um,
more nuggets?
what I was going to say, when you was hitting on, you was talking about how when you get into a routine and you build something. I'm just, what book is this again? Oh, we're
Uh,
talking about The Power
go
of
ahead.
Habit.
By Charles Duhigg.
And the other one I put up was The Inevitable by Kevin Kelly. But I was going to talk about how when you get a routine going, it creates a craving, and the craving is what enforces and motivates and drives and keeps that loop going. So you have to be mindful of cravings. And I was just thinking about
Yeah.
when you were talking about veganism and meat. I know for me, when it came to minimizing meat in my life, was I started forcing myself to eat more vegetables, and then my craving for vegetables increased.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, and also just understanding that there's a certain time frame in order to lock a habit in, right? If you
Man.
can do something for a certain amount of time, I know there's varying statistics, varying studies on whether it's 2 weeks, whether it's a month. I've seen varying studies on that. I know for me, like I always think about when I was in college. I think I've mentioned this before. When I didn't have salt, right? So it was almost like a starvation. You know, it was almost like a no funds kind of scenario where I
Yeah.
didn't have any salt for like a period of 2 weeks, and I got used to tasting food without salt. And then, of
Yep.
course, once I started eating salt again, then it was a wrap. So,
Yeah, it's
so
over.
before a while, I got so accustomed to it that I didn't even desire it anymore.
She says Cheryl says she's vegan deaf.
Richard said 21 days, so 3 weeks. Yeah, like I said, it ranges from 2 to 3 weeks. And here's the thing: the, you can stop a habit that's really not entrenched in you a lot quicker than you can a habit that's pretty much embedded in your system. So some habits are more dug in your psyche than others, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta understand that as well. That's why the whole concept of being an alcoholic once and the life then it doesn't necessarily mean you're an alcoholic. It means that some of those things are so psychologically and chemically entrenched in your system that if you do relapse, then chances are you're going to
It's
struggle
over.
definitely
Yeah.
hard. And that's not for everybody, but for a lot of people, that dependency is hard to get rid of twice. It's hard to shake a bad habit twice. And
Yep.
so a lot of times you got to figure out how to avoid those things and what you can replace those things with. If you find a greater reward that you can replace those things with, chances are you'll stay off of it completely.
Yeah. Fried gizzards.
Yeah. You see, I don't eat any form of pork and very little beef for many years. Yeah, and those things just slowly are cultivated, Cheryl. Because I remember when I was 14, when I first gave up meat, it didn't even work. Uh, I remember it's like I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give up meat today, and I went over to my mom's friend's house and she made some
It
chili and I smashed it. I was
was
like, so
done.
much for that. But then something else made me do it. I can't even remember. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try this again, and this time I'm gonna set myself up to succeed because at that time I actually had my own job when I was 14, so I was making money. And I was like, I'm gonna start buying my own food until other people around me start changing the way to cultivate that culture within the household. Obviously, at 14, I'm still living with my mother and those kinds of things. When she saw I was serious, then she changed her habits about me as well.
Right.
So a lot of times when you get real dead set serious on cultivating a habit, maybe the habit is not normal in your household. With other people, they expect to see you a certain way, they treat you a certain way, and they don't think that you're serious. Once you start proving that you're serious in the way that you act, in the way that your routine changes, and it becomes a significant part of who you are, then other people will change their association of you as well.
Yeah. That's going back to the power of people and the people around you. What Zakiya was talking about up earlier with friends and stuff like that, support group. Floyd talked about the association with pleasure senses and contribute to most eating habits. Yeah, eating is very pleasurable. It's
Yeah,
something it's built in software that helps keep this body, this biological machine moving. So it's something that has to be pleasurable for us to want to seek and do it out on a continuous basis. So pleasure is definitely a part of eating. My lifestyle is I've cultivated my lifestyle to be there. Every time I eat is a feast. I try to make it a feast anyway. And that like you talked about, I'm all about seeking out experiences. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I'm all about maximizing the pleasure and good eating that's going to help keep me healthy, well, happy, and whole.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. My man Justin, he said, there's a feel-good hormone called serotonin that is released when you eat food. And again, a lot of times, and that's what some people seek. They seek that feel-good release, and not understanding that they can get that from other activities. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Workout.
again, it's understanding exactly what it is your reward is, which is, like I said earlier, is very difficult sometimes to understand through this large variableness of life, what the reward is that you're actually getting. But once you get an understanding, it's like, okay, I need a serotonin release, then you can find other ways to get that serotonin release. You can get that dopamine release, that endorphin release in other forms or fashion, right? And you can find healthier forms to get that. Let's see, there's some other comments.
Yeah, just to
Miss
like
Cheryl,
exercise. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Miss Cheryl
man.
said she gave up pork for about 5 years, forgot at a barbecue, got cute and ate spare ribs, had full blown flu symptoms, freezing in the middle of summer, never ever tried pork
Wow.
again. Yeah. Miss Miriam said exercise, definitely. Let's see. Since Floyd said, I have dinner with a pretty lady. I tend to seek that feeling over and over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, definitely. Sex, it's another thing. It's like the endorphin release, the high release, and 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 again, understanding those cues and those triggers can be very powerful in controlling yourself. It can be very powerful in understanding how you operate and understanding how you can uh, manipulate the matrix of this world.
Yeah.
Go ahead, brother.
I like Floyd. I like Floyd on that one though. You know, dinner with the pretty lady is always the best way to maximize a good meal.
He said, what did you sneeze a lot when you exercise and your eyes swell? For who?
No, I don't think that's it.
Yeah, that means you got dusty equipment because you ain't been using it. Yeah, exactly, Floyd. He said, or if you have fun drinking with your boys, you seek that feeling over and over. Yeah, because again, it's the camaraderie, right? And when you realize that you can have those same scenarios without the drink or without certain aspects, then you can maximize your behavior. He said, my man Floyd. Yeah, good people. So Kevin's hit his word wall, I could tell, because he's just grinning. When the more Kevin grins, then you know he's actually hit his word wall.
Yeah, man.
Hold on, let me read this from Zakiya real quick.
All right.
And then we'll wrap it up. He said, yep, I know what you mean, fam. He said, I made my boyfriend eat clean for 4 months straight. And when he went to his mama's house for Thanksgiving, all that cleaning went out the window. He was on that toilet. He was on the toilet for 12 hours straight. Me, I was sleeping well because I didn't eat any of that mess. I went grocery shopping and made my own clean Thanksgiving. That's funny. So, put his business out there. I'm going to go look up his pictures now, Zakiya.
Oh, man.
12-hour poopy pants. But anyway.
Yeah, ain't nobody see us for a couple of thousand people.
Yeah, I know. That's funny. That's funny. But yeah, man, we definitely appreciate everybody joining in on the conversation. We appreciate the laughs for sure. We always thank you guys just for stopping by and just hopefully we've said something that's made you think, that's made you laugh, that has enhanced your day in some form or fashion. We don't take it lightly that you spend time with us, and we don't even mind taking our time out to give you guys information that we come across, information that has helped us, or a variety of different things. We love you guys and we appreciate you.
Yeah, we love and appreciate the time that you spend with us. We don't take it for granted. We hope that the return on investment is more than what you put in. Thanks for joining us, two shy guys in a mic, just here telling bad jokes so that you don't have to. Have a good conversation and just relaxing and just having pleasure moments with friends, so to speak. So thank you all. And I hit my word wall, so I'm out.
He didn't even give us the usual wrap up. Come on, Kev. That's your cue, man. Like boom.
Boom. That's all I got, man.
Never mind. Hey, we said something that you enjoy. Please like and share. We appreciate it. Two shy guys in the mic, and we signing out. We love you guys. We appreciate you too. Peace.
Peace, man.